we were all shaking our heads at news that Italy was locking down the entire country to stop the spread of COVID-19. Awful, we thought, but it couldn't happen here. Except it slowly is. State by state, residents now being ordered to stay indoors. Non-essential businesses told to close. The latest, Connecticut.
Governor Lamont wants more people telecommuting or working from home.
I'm not ordering you to stay home. I'm strongly urging you to stay home to make sure that you and your neighbors are much less likely to be infected by the highly contagious COVID-19.
Local restaurants say unless diners keep supporting them, more will close for good. The trend is happening across the United States.
Yelp recently released a study showing 16,000 restaurants nationwide have already closed permanently because of the pandemic.
I had a really nice February leading into that March in terms of sales, so I thought I was going to have a big year. Turns out nobody did.
$8,500 restaurants were up and running at the beginning of 2020 in the state of Connecticut. 600 of those restaurants have closed down by the end of that year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That's 5% of the 110,000 restaurants in total that went out of business by December 2020 in the United States.
I was watching, really lives around me change. Because of the pandemic, people were losing really everything they had.
COVID-19 and the many restrictions in Connecticut got in the way of the restaurant business. Mark Moon is the owner of Soul Barbecue in New Britain, and he had a very rough start at the near beginning of the pandemic.
It was pretty bad those 2 weeks. I got sick, my mom got sick, a lot of my staff got sick, my mom almost died.
This led to Moon taking 6 weeks off, which was the longest break he ever has to take for the 5 to 6 years he's been in charge of Soul Barbecue. This was one of many ways restaurants in New Britain struggled during the pandemic.
Speaking to, New Britain and the city and knowing it very well, every area has had different challenges. And I would say that New Britain was faced with, a lot more challenges than most of the cities. And what I say to that is, the city of New Britain restaurants rely not only on the communities that they serve and people that live there, but they rely very much so on the university.
Central Connecticut State University is a college located in New Britain that had over 8,000 students enrolled there. The number of students attending the university dropped due to COVID-19, which damaged the city's restaurants, with them losing one of their largest customer bases. The losses became more severe when the executive order announced by Governor Ned Lamont on March 16, 2020, caused restaurants to transition from indoor dining to takeout only. One New Britain restaurant owner was able to deal with the policies head-on.
There is no dessert.
Not today.
Not yet, anyway. It's okay.
It wasn't too much of an adjustment for us. All we had to do was advertise more to direct people to our website, to let people know that we got takeout and pickup orders. We use some of the Grubhub, DoorDash tablets and stuff.
Devon Tanksley has been the owner of My Wife Didn't Cook in New Britain since 2019. As COVID-19 cases increased in the city, the number of customers Tanksley received were plummeting.
Out of the 60 tables, the 60 capacity seats that we had, it dropped 80%.
Transitioning from indoor dining to takeout wasn't the only change Connecticut restaurants had to face in 2020. April 20, 2020 was when the mask mandate was first required by Governor Lamont. Many of Moon's customers cared about the mask mandate, but some others were very argumentative about it.
I've been requiring people to wear them, and I've got all kinds of conversations at the door, debates, arguments, right? And for me, it's like, dude, if you can't follow a simple rule, I don't want your money. Please leave.
Many restaurant owners have dealt with these conversations before and have been very upsetting for them, including Moon.
Starting to get a little emotional, but it's like my day is hard enough. I don't need to argue with you at the door about a mask.
New Britain restaurants faced several difficulties throughout 2020 and early 2021. May 19, 2021 was a date that sparked hope for Tankley, as that was when Governor Lamont lifted indoor dining capacity limits.
Well, being the optimistic person that I am, I was like, oh, it's going right back to normal. We're about to hit. Everything is about to be. And it just didn't snowball like that. You know, it was a slow transition. It's still a slow transition.
Many restaurant restrictions have been eliminated, including the mask mandate for outdoor dining and mask mandate indoors for vaccinated customers. This didn't guarantee that restaurants would automatically get better, though.
The first 2 weeks of the pandemic, we saw over 85 to 90,000 employees let go without really knowing a future. You know, you kind of heard, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll kind of get back to normal. And who would have thought we're still dealing with the aftermath of this pandemic, still not fully through it 2 years later.
In that time, I lost so much staff. I lost sushi. I was trying to bring it back, but that ended up being a casualty of COVID.
The COVID-19 pandemic cost restaurants their money, staff, and ability to plan effectively for future business hours. A survey conducted by the Connecticut Restaurant Association revealed that 90% of the 4,000 restaurants that participated were paying more for food as of September 2021.
The food products in certain categories have gotten really out of control. And, you kind of feel for the restaurants that, I give an example, like where chicken wings were about 3 months ago, some of the highest pricing it had ever been in the last, really ever. But it was up, almost over 60% from a year ago. And then you've got places that literally are known for wings, and that's what they do.
My Wife Didn't Cook is one of many examples of restaurants known for their chicken wings, which is a food item that's become more expensive, as Dolch said. New Britain patrons, including Heather Sabatka, have had to turn away from restaurants they're interested in because of the high prices.
We just haven't gone because it seems like the prices are really expensive, especially for lunchtime.
Food isn't the only factor causing these restaurants to struggle financially.
There's a lot of other behind-the-scenes overhead that a lot of people don't know. So they can see one thing and think like, oh, your price is too high or this or that, but not understanding that, you have things that you have to, the bottom line, like payroll, the staff that's working, you can't tell them that you don't have their paycheck this week. You have the rent, you have to pay your lease, you have to keep the lights on, you have to pay the gas, you have to pay your insurance, you have to pay like garbage, like it's trash pickup, everything goes into that.
Governor Lamont and the U.S. Small Business Administration has offered COVID-19 relief options to help restaurants in Connecticut.
And here's our chance to say thanks for everything you've done and what that means to our cities and towns in the state of Connecticut.
This included the Paycheck Protection Program and Restaurant Revitalization Fund.
Restaurant Revitalization Fund, through the American Rescue Plan, provided $28.6 billion back to our industry last, I think, May and June. In Connecticut specifically for that program, $301 million came back into our state. A little over 1,300 local restaurant caterers and private event venues received what their ask was. Phenomenal.
Although grants and loans have helped restaurants stay in business, the money restaurants are given is spent quickly to keep up with bills.
You can tell someone, last month we brought in $50,000, $60,000, but after you pay everything, and that $60,000 is like a wash.
On one end, I think they dropped the ball, but on the other end, without government assistance, I wouldn't be having this conversation how I'm having it. It would be different, and it'd be much sadder probably.
Restaurant owners aren't the only people who received financial assistance from the U.S. government. Many people across the country received stimulus checks and collected unemployment. According to the NOLO Encyclopedia, Connecticut residents can earn up to a maximum of $698 from unemployment as of 2021.
They were making more off unemployment than they ever had in their entire lives. That doesn't make any sense.
The Connecticut Restaurant Association revealed that 94% of restaurant owners were understaffed. Although Tanksley didn't have to deal with understaffing issues much, he still said finding diligent employees is a challenge.
I would say, finding hardworking people that's willing to come to work every day, show up every day, and give their best. That's one of the hardest things a lot of restaurants owners are looking for, and they can't find. But I know they're out there because I still have a few that's hanging on.
Overall, restaurants in New Britain have dealt with numerous struggles. Sabaka says restaurants in New Britain are getting better, but them, along with the rest of Connecticut's restaurants, continue to have slow dining hours.
They seem very quiet, like hardly have the dinner time rush that they used to when you'd go into a restaurant and the place would be packed. You have a half an hour wait. You rarely see that anymore.
COVID-19 and its variants have been a reoccurring factor behind the decline of Connecticut and New Britain restaurants. 88% of restaurant owners in Connecticut said they were having lower sales due to the Delta variant in September 2021. The National Restaurant Association survey revealed that 96% of restaurants experienced a decline of indoor dining because of the Omicron variant in January 2022 as well.
I think it's here to stay. We're just gonna live with it, right? Like we live with the flu, and COVID will kill people every year, but it's not gonna be anything anymore because it's not new.
Despite this, Moon and Tanksley said they've been able to accomplish a lot and have goals for the future of their establishments.
It took some time, but we got back up on our feet, and we're just trying to deliver a consistent product.
I feel I've accomplished a lot, and in the next couple years, I just feel that we're going to continue to grow and expand, and continue to do what we're doing, but on a higher scale. It's not the end for us. We see our restaurant going right back up, and week by week it has been.
New Britain restaurant owners have hoped that their restaurants can return to the success they achieved prior to the pandemic.
What I've learned in this pandemic, the resiliency of these restaurant owner-operators, their own fight to stay open, their passion for their staffs and their employees, their passion for their communities, even when they were losing everything around them.
We live in this world where anything can happen. Car accidents, violence, people get sick, diseases, everything is happening. So we're not gonna I don't think the world is ready to let the pandemic really put us back away and for another couple years. I feel mentally we're moving in a positive direction, and I don't think that's gonna happen. So I think the future looks bright for us.
You have a good day. Appreciate it too.